Hey, welcome to Clarksville Vibe the show where we tell stories about people here in Clarksville, Tennessee that make this place the greatest place to live in America. I'm your host, Kevin Kennedy Jr., coming at you with episode 61, 62, but continuing to bring great people from all across our community where you get to hear their stories about what makes our community great and how they're adding value in so many different ways. Today's guest is just like all the rest. He is a friend of mine. I met him about 2 years ago. He has been inspiring to me in so many ways. He leads a small business in our area that continues to grow and grow in the trades. And so I'm really fascinated to hear more about his story, how he came here originally as an Austin Peay student, decided to stay, had some history in town, and then started a business in 2005, 2007 time. And then it's just grown it to one of our most known local businesses. But hey, before I tell you who it is, before you jump into it, make sure you hit like, subscribe, get new episodes as they come out. Send this to a friend. I know you're going to find dynamic content that's really worth your time for today. But our guest today is Chris Travis. Travis Electrical Service, a great pioneer of the trades in our community, growing a business that serves a lot of people from residential to commercial, all kinds of stuff all around our community. He's got a unique niche on it where he is really building leaders within his organization, trying to be a servant-hearted leader to his people, and then having that flesh out into the community. I can tell you firsthand, when he came into our home, the business was just unlike anything we expected. The people were great. The people on the phones were great. The people in the house were great. And so I'm really excited to dig into more about kind of what makes him tick and how he sees his business as being a contribution to the community. But without any much more, Chris, thanks so much for your time, bud.
Hey, thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, this should be fun. You know, you and I, we both connected. One of the first things I remember about you is you said, yeah, I'm a podcast guy. I listen to podcasts. And so I always had you on my list. I'm excited to be on this side of things with you because I think you know, and I know podcasts can be fun. They can be, give you a lot of information, but they can be really equipping too. And some of the best ones that I really kind of continue to go back to are the ones that allow me to relate to people who are in the real world, doing real things, facing real challenges, but then also give us some tools to take away with. So I think we're going to get there today.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Well, let's get after it. So a couple things about you. You came here as an Austin Peay student. You eventually were on the fire rescue in the fire rescue department for the city for a while, became a kind of a residential repair guy for a little bit that eventually became Travis Electrical Service. And here you are now. Tell people kind of Travis Electrical Service, like team wise, how many people do you have and how many, what's your kind of, not volume in terms of your business, but what does your impact in the community look like today?
Yeah. So right now we're sitting right around 70 team members on our team. Yeah. It's
even bigger than I thought.
We've really grown. Yeah. And we swell as with the workload, of course, so we swell and retract some. But right now we're sitting around 70. I think the highest we've ever been is just over 80.
Wow.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you pointed out to me is you really feel like, being a servant leader is something that really drives you. And I know that there's a lot entailed to that. But I would assume from your role as, hey, I started Travis Electrical Service, you're the one taking the calls, going in the house, doing the repairs, doing the invoices, doing all of that stuff. To where you sit today, how has servant leadership really guided you along the way? And how do you feel like that was something that allowed you to be in the place where you are now?
I feel like it's the only way that we've gotten to where we are now. I am not a guy that's driven by dollars necessarily. Yeah. So it's never been about the bottom line for me. It's all about how can we be the best at what we do? How can we be the best place to work for people? And so in my mind, it's always just been trying to show that an example, just lead by example, and just never being afraid to jump in and do something. In the early days, I did it all, right? I did it all. And so I've been there in the trenches where the guys are, and thank goodness it's been a while since I've been in the trenches. But I don't know. I just try to treat people the way I like to be treated. If my kids were working somewhere, I want them to be treated the same way. And so we just try to take care of our team, like their family and look out for their best interest.
Yeah. I think it's Southwest. I could be totally wrong about this, but Southwest Airlines, part of their, mission statement is that they really focus on being a great place to work.
Yep.
And they feel like the trickle down from really spending a lot of energy to be a great place to work leads to great service. Have you found that to be true?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, so, and one of the things, and we may dive into it later on, but we've got, we're one of probably the rarity in the trades where we have core values that we actually live by, and we hire and fire by those core values, and everything we do, we filter through those core values. And they're trust, excellence, service, and team player.
Okay.
And, but each one of those core values has a little descriptor that we've named like to describe it. And each one of them says, basically it ends with that we're going to do what's best for the team, the client, the vendor, our community, everybody that we interact with. We're interested in, it's a win-win-win, not just a win for us. We want our team to win.
Yeah.
We want our customers to win. We want our community to win.
Yeah, that's cool. When did you feel like you noticed that was important? And so by that, I mean, I'm a dentist, so I'm used to providing a service to the community. Mm-hmm. You provide electrical services, I provide dental services. You kind of call it a wash there. But I noticed more recently, after several years of like, I'm just coming in to fix teeth, get kids out of pain, do whatever I'm doing, to now that the values-based system is the only way that really provides lasting value, because, if we're just focused on what we do rather than who we are, you just get lost in the weeds, you get burnt out, your team gets frustrated, things like that. When was that process for you? Was it early on or kind of mid stage?
It was about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay.
So we've been around as Travis Electrical since 2007. So it was about, I guess it was about 2018, maybe 2019 it was when I really started heavily investing in and developing our residential service side. Right. And those are the guys that you've seen in your home, and you can see, how seriously we take customer service and how we expect, excellence in everything that we do. And it was really a mindset shift. And I'll have to give a lot of credit to Reagan Thomas. Reagan is our VP of the service division, and she's been on the team just over 5 years, maybe a little more. But she kind of helped me to shift my mindset, because in my mind, we used to have construction and then we had service, and you can't do them the same way, because that's the mentality of construction professionals for the last 100 years. Like, this is the way we do things. We're rough and tumble, and you can't do things that way. And it hit me finally. She probably hit me over the head with something, I don't know. And it was like, you know what? There's no reason we can't elevate on our side of these things. Like, why can't we wear nice uniforms where we all look the same? And why can't we have like these amazing trucks that are basically new and they all look the same and they're not falling apart, we're not leaking oil, and it's so really it was a mindset shift. And I said, okay, wait a minute. We're not just going to elevate the trades as it applies to residential customers. We're just going to elevate the trade in general, and we're just going to be the best that there is in everything. We're going to blow people away. Yeah.
That's really cool, though, that you give her credit, because, as someone who grew up in the trenches, as you said, a lot of times you feel like it is like, well, as long as I do the job really well and we get the service connected, whatever that may be, or for me, it's like, as long as we get the tooth out and the bill's correct, well, then, everybody should be happy. And in reality, there's so much more that goes into it. The first phone call is important. The follow-up, all of the things that goes into it that makes a service visit really stand out and be dynamic. I'm glad to hear that it was a team member who kind of got you to the point. Absolutely. And I feel like, that's been my experience as well.
Absolutely. Sometimes we get in our own way.
Sure.
And we think, no, this is just the way it is. You don't understand. You don't understand the business or whatever. And, and Reagan, she was not an electrician by trade. Yeah. She's just a great manager and leader in so many ways. But I just had to kind of defer and say, you know what, maybe there's something to this. And so, I started doing a lot of reading and really tried to level myself up, and about that same time frame. That's when I started reading everything I could get my hands on, listening to the podcast, listening to audiobooks. My goodness, Audible is, like my best friend now. And so that's where we just said, man, this is something that we really can do, and we can really be different and stand out in our space, no matter whether it's in a commercial building or in a factory, or in your home.
Yeah.
We want to be just as good in all three of those places that we blow our customer away. The experience is still different. It's still, you don't expect the same service that somebody in an industrial facility does, but we can still blow them away with the way we respond to their need.
Yeah. So what does your day-to-day look like leading your team now? Is that, kind of looking for opportunities in industrial complex, in really big projects that take you a year or more on site? Is it, is it just providing oversight, supervision? What does that look like?
All of those things. Yeah. So I still lead we still kind of operate in two divisions. We have our service division, and then we have what we call contract division, which is mostly construction or industrial type stuff. And I still lead that division currently for the time being. Anyway. And so I'm definitely on the supervision side of business development kind of things, sales, estimating, overseeing our estimators, and trying to still close deals and that kind of thing. And then, but where I really excel is visionary.
Okay.
And so I'm just a visionary thinker. I like to think 15 or 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
And so we're working really hard to get me out of that seat.
Who on your team is the one that's like, Chris, you got to stop? You're like, come back to center.
Sometimes it's my wife.
Yeah.
But most of them are pretty good about. Most of them let me go, but then they will keep. Reagan's probably the one that keeps me the most in check because she's a very, very skilled operator.
Yeah, gotcha.
And she's like, okay, I have to be very careful what I say because I'll say something, and she'll say, in her mind, it's like, okay, she immediately starts, how do I do this?
Yes.
How do I do this?
Yeah.
And so I'll say, hey, I'm just talking. Don't do anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. And because the next thing,
that's right.
And so
Chris said that this is what he wants to do. Like, wait.
Our team is so great that they don't push back on me too much. They probably should push back more.
Yeah. They're afraid of you.
Yeah,
this is what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
You're such a bully.
Yeah, that's it.
So when Travis Electrical started, like you got this brand now, and it's Chris Travis and his truck. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have the vision at that point? Like, or do you feel like your vision casting skills came at a different part of your journey? Because, I mean, for me, when you come out of dental school, all you're focused on is just getting your boards, getting your license, getting a job. Yeah. And you don't even see what's possible. Yeah. You want to be the best technician that you can, removes the decay in the smallest amount possible, get the cleanest margin on the restoration, do all these things, like all the things that you don't care about as an electrician towards your dentist. And there are things about electricians that I probably don't care about
of course.
As the dentist, right? But when did that kind of big vision, Chris, come about?
It's definitely been a work in progress. Okay. It was not from the get-go by any means. Yeah. So, you alluded to it earlier. I got started as a firefighter, right? And so this was just something I was going to do on my days off. This was just to make some extra money and, just to stay busy. I've never been somebody to like to sit around. We were working 24 on, 48 off. Yeah. I couldn't sit around for 48 hours. But in fact, when I got my electrical license, there's a couple of different options in Tennessee, and the one license is a limited license, and it's good for $25,000 projects. And I told Stephanie, I told somebody, I was like, I'm just going to get this. I'll never need more. Like, why would I do anything that's over $25,000? Yeah. And so here we are, fast forward nearly 20 years later. Now we have an unlimited license. We can do literally any size project. If it's 10 million, 15 million, you name it, we can do it. So, so the visionary part has been a work in progress. It was not always that way. Yeah. It took me some time getting out of the weeds of running the business to really see and start to think long term. And I'll tell you, this is a shameless plug, I guess, for EOS. I don't know if you ever heard of Entrepreneurial Operating System, based on a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. Okay. It's been a game changer for us, and it's really helped me to develop those skills and kind of organize our company around that model. Yeah. It's just an operating system that gives you some tools. And when I read that book, it's probably been 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, okay, this is where we're
Light
going.
bulb moment.
Look out. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Well, what I really like about that is, even in your industry, I think some people may be listening to this and think, well, what does this have to do with our community as a whole? Well, the fact is, the better our small businesses are and the better equipped and trained they are, the better services we get in our community. Yeah. And it really elevates everyone in the whole space.
Absolutely.
Because one of the ways that our community is great is we have enough providers of different services in any industry where we can start to keep our dollars local.
Yeah.
And when you see outside companies come in, they know that the market's here. And the reality is, if for right now, if we're talking about Travis, if we call and you answer and you show up when you say you're going to show up and do what you say you're going to do and charge what you say you're going to charge, well, now that's the expectation for our community.
Absolutely.
And everybody gets better. When
Absolutely.
Chris Travis gets better,
Sure.
and now our community gets better. And, I hope that people who are listening can see that connection, that when our doctors are better at the hospital, we all get better health care.
Of course.
When our electricians are better, when our dentists are better, when our teachers get better, like all of a sudden our community really does raise a level, and it does continue to be this, like, the greatest place we get to live because of good people who are here.
Absolutely. And so we have a niche that we say we're providing outstanding service in the trades, and like service is the key word there. And you hear it when you call our office, right? It starts from the very first time somebody picks up the phone. Now, what I want to kind of say to people is, that are listening, that are like, well, why is the intervening electrician? Yeah, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. No. Man, I've had you name it. I've had them come ask me, how do we do service like you guys do service? We've talked to attorneys. You and I have had the conversation.
Right. Yeah.
Like people from all different industries come to me and say, how do you do this? Like that every single time, it's like the best experience. And so we try to, say it doesn't matter if you're pulling teeth or if you're, pulling light fixtures, pulling wire. Oh, that would agree. It doesn't matter. It's just that the level of service that you provide is what really matters.
Yeah.
And you can do it. It doesn't matter if we can do it in the electrical industry and provide this amazing service. Any business can do it.
Massage therapy doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Well, another cool thing that I really like about your story is this, like, it really did start as your side hustle. Mm-hmm. Chris Travis comes to Clarksville as an Austin Peay student. Yeah. You shared with me you got to meet your wife, Stephanie, while you were on campus there.
The first day.
What's really funny is Adanya and I met our first day at campus.
There you go.
Now, we didn't start dating for a couple of years.
Well, neither did we.
I didn't. Yeah. So we met our very first day at campus. We were in a leadership program together. We started dating our junior year. So it was kind of 2 years after that, probably after I grew up a little bit and was kind of ready to actually treat her well. But I love that part of your story that it's like, okay, Chris shows up, normal college kid, and you fast forward, we won't even name the number of years, but you're a staple in our community now. And so I think that there's also an encouragement to us who are in this season now that every kid at Austin Peay is potentially a future leader in our community.
Absolutely, especially those kids at Austin Peay. Like they're here for a reason, whether they're hometown students that are local or whether they came. I came from Kentucky. I didn't know anything about Austin Peay except that 2 or 3 of my friends were going to go. Yeah, and so I was like, I think I'll go too. But we have to continue to do a good job as a community to hold on to those kids. Sure. And
so what was it as you were kind of making decisions on what you were going to do? Was it Stephanie? She said, I'm staying here, so if you better stay too.
Believe it or not, it was actually the fire service.
Okay.
So I've always been like an adrenaline junkie, love that kind of thing. Me and a couple of my fraternity brothers, we actually...
Which fraternity?
Kappa Sig.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, they're still around. I was a Sigma Chi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rivals on the other side of the campus. That's all right.
Friendly rivals.
That's right. Yeah. So we where were we going?
Your friends were
fire rescue. So my friends joined St. Bethlehem Volunteer Fire Service.
Okay.
It was all volunteer, right? You just had to be 18 and basically show up and be willing to
right.
go, right?
Yeah.
And so I signed up and absolutely fell in love with that. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. Well, I was in my 3rd, maybe 4th year school, I don't know, and I just got really, really interested in it. And it got to the point where I decided Stephanie and I were talking about it. We were either dating seriously or engaged.
Yeah.
We were somewhere right
Years
in that
get
neighborhood.
blurry.
Yeah, it was all blurry. Yeah, and I said, you know what? I think this might be what I want to do. I was actually in school for music education. I was going to be a band director, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, Stephanie, she'll tell you if you talk to her long, I loved you when you were going to be a band director. and so classic. It's great. It's great. So anyway, so I decided I wanted to apply and got hired on the fire department. I started there April the 1st, 1998, just a few months before we graduated from Austin Peay. And so that's kind of what kept us here. But we love Clarksville, man. Yeah. I grew up in Madisonville, Kentucky, small town. Not a lot to do there. At least when I was growing up, it's a little better now. But when I came to Clarksville, I was like, man, this is awesome. It's not a huge city,
sure,
but there's anything I want to do, I can do here. The people are cool.
Yeah. Even
Austin
in the
Peay
late 90s.
Even in the late 90s. Even Austin Peay was great then. That's and right. I look, you go to campus now. And
go to campus. I talk to these kids now, and I'm like, you guys have no idea.
You have no idea
how awesome this place is right now.
No idea.
Like this whole Franklin Street is booming and bustling. You know.
Yeah.
When I was in high school and college, it was definitely hit or miss.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fun. But I think Austin Peay is such a great advantage for people who go there. Obviously, I've told people in the past when I went. I maybe could have gone other places, didn't really look for too many opportunities, just made the most sense for me at the time. But I took that Austin Peay education, went to dental school, and not that I'm the smartest person in the room, but I still finished number one in my class. Mm-hmm. And that was the Austin Peay education that might have been frowned upon by some of my classmates because it wasn't as prestigious academically as maybe other things. Right. But in reality, had gained all the skills, all the tools, all the social skills, all the leadership skills that I needed to then take that next step. And I don't know that I'm filling the shoes that you're filling in our community.
Are you
today,
kidding me?
But man, it's Austin Peay was a huge blessing for me.
Me too. What an absolute gem that we have in Austin Peay. And so there's our shameless plug and shout out to Austin Peay. But
now you have kids that are going. Or do you have you got some college age kids? Right?
Yep. They're not. Well, Jake went to Austin Peay he was there maybe 3 or 4 semesters.
Okay.
He actually decided school's not the route for him. He actually works in our company now.
Cool.
And I'm probably the biggest proponent of going into the trades.
Well, you see it firsthand.
But I admit, exactly. But I admit to you that as a dad, I thought, no, I think you need to go to college. And he was like, you've been telling everybody else to go into the trades. Why don't? He's like, I hate college. Yeah. And so he's, he did it and did fine, but he just hated every minute of it.
Yeah. Right.
And so now he's in our company and absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
And so
awesome.
it's getting people in the best seat and the best path for them, not the best path for mom or dad, for sure.
But. What does that look like as you're talking to high school kids now, or maybe participating in a career day? Because I will say, as just a member of the community, I feel like the push for trades has almost become equal. I hear that message. Mm-hmm. I see that message a little bit more. It's like, if your kid is even considering trades at all, really do the numbers and let's look at the math with tuition increases. And it's, I don't know where it falls, but I just see so many people become really successful, and I'm glad to see that option as being more communicated.
Yeah, me too. You and I, you shared you knew you were going to be a dentist when,
16 years old. You want to know why I wanted to become a dentist? True story. I've never told this on the podcast before. I tell people in real life, but I was like, I cannot be Kevin Kennedy Sr. I don't have it in me. I can't do it. And if that's what it takes to be a lawyer in this town, do not sign me up for that. I am not him. I can't do it.
But how many TikTok followers do you have?
0, because I am not Kevin Kennedy Sr. I got 0. But what I did know is I liked math, I liked science, and all the dentists that I knew were really friendly to me. Mm-hmm. And they said, hey, you would be great at this. Yeah. And so my knucklehead brain, I was 16. I was like, okay, well, that's what I'll do. I like science, and I just went for it.
And if you're going to be a dentist, that's probably the best time to decide you're going to be a dentist.
Sure.
Right?
Like, save me money.
You don't
down
need
the
to
road.
decide when you're 22 you're going to be a dentist. Right?
Yeah, right.
Right. And so my path was a lot windier than that.
Yeah.
I was going to go to the University of Kentucky. I was going to be a civil engineer.
Okay.
And then I backed out of that and ended up at Austin Peay in the music education program.
Nice.
Right. Then I'm going to be a firefighter, or the last thing I was ever going to be was an electrical contractor.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on the table.
Running a company.
That's right. Not even on the table.
That is wild. Well, I know you've got to see a lot of with your kids, the ages that they are. You've gotten to see a lot of kids grow up, and you've been really, really involved in Clarksville Christian School from the very early stages of that. But I'm sure your influence there has extended to even having kids see something that's possible that maybe they didn't know about otherwise.
Yeah, that's been one avenue that we've have had some open conversations with some kids about. Hey, let's have a chat about going into the trades, and
because it's
you're
not
right.
like you got some MBA from Vanderbilt or wherever it may be. Like Chris started off wanting to be honest, provide this service, and then grew in his leadership to where you are now.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Clarksville Christian School, because obviously 2005-ish is when that started.
It's when we started an exploratory team in 2005. We opened school in 2007.
And you've been on the board since
that day.
So you provided leadership all throughout its phases of growth. It has really been a staple in the private sector, private education here in our community, and as its campus is continuing to grow. I'm sure you've been involved in some interesting conversations. Absolutely. With a second campus on the books at some point. But tell us a little bit about those early years, and what was it that attracted you to it, and who were some of the players early on that were pitching the idea that maybe you caught the vision of?
Wow, yeah. There were a handful of us. There were 4 or 5 of us. We were all deacons at Hilldale Church of Christ at the time. Yeah. And they did a survey, a congregational survey about where do you want to see us go? Where do we want to go as a congregation for the future? How can we outreach the community? And 2 things came out of that. Part of the people wanted an assisted living facility, and the other part wanted a school. And I said, well, I have no interest in an assisted living, but I'm all over a school. At that time, I think Jake was Jake was 4 in 2005. Oh, wow. So it was my first kid. He was 4 years old. He's got a year.
You're right.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And so we were all in. And so we spent literally thousands and thousands of hours studying and prepping and visiting schools all over the South and just to try to figure out what to do. But man, what a blessing that Clarksville Christian School has been to me and my kids. It was scary. It was scary. Couple of us who are just really good friends that were there from the early days. We kind of look back and think, man, what did we do? We put our kids in a school that nobody knew anything about. Like, have we limited our kids? Sure. Well, I can tell you, absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely not. Mallory just graduated. She was co-valedictorian. They actually had a tie for valedictorian of her class, and she. My goodness, her valedictorian address, she referenced the Bible heavily, of course, Dr. Jordan Peterson and Nietzsche. And I'm like,
well-rounded.
Yeah. And so I'm like, most of us had to go back and look up, like, what is she even talking about? So no, I think the kids turned out just fine. But it's just been a tremendous blessing to us all the way around. It's been a good ministry for me, and I give a lot of the credit for our business success. 100% I give that God has blessed us because of the work that we've done at CCS.
Yeah, I was going to ask, because there's 2 ways to kind of think about that relationship that you have. It's kind of like, does Chris Travis, the entrepreneurial electrician, does he gain experience in this private sector world, and then transition it to like give it to CCS to kind of help CCS grow? Or does Chris Travis, the knucklehead entrepreneurial, like get to be around a great mission, a great system of values, great people, and you learn this from your volunteer work, you translate it into your business, and your business grows. And it's like you get all the credit for your business, but at the back of the story, it's like, no, really, like I got lucky here,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
I whatever happened here is a result of
absolutely.
what happened.
I was, so, as you mentioned already, we literally were on the same timeline. Like Travis Electrical morphed out of my residential kind of maintenance business in 2007, the same year the school opened. I was trying to figure out how to open a business and try to figure out how to open a school in the same year. I didn't know how to do either one. And so God just blessed our efforts, I think, honestly, just because we were willing to go do it.
Yeah.
Just go do it and figure it out. And
do you remember back in the early days, what was CCS like? Is it 1 or 2 grades? Did you start with?
It was K-3, the very first year. I think there are others who could tell you these statistics, right? But I think the day that we decided, hey, let's give it a shot, I think we had 27 kids that we knew would come.
Yeah.
And I think we opened with 54 or 56 in August.
Wow.
Yeah, that very first year. And it was all in one hallway at the Hilldale Church of Christ building there. And we literally dropped our kids off there, and just one of my best friends for life is Lance Carpenter, and he dropped Peyton, his daughter, off, and I dropped Jake off, and he said, "What have we done?" And I said, "I don't know, but it's gonna be an interesting ride, so we'll see."
Yeah, and then here you are. He's both of your kids have graduated.
Yeah,
you've seen it all the way through. What were some of the challenges in growing a school here in our community, like specific to Clarksville, that you may think, oh, well, we visited a site in Nashville and this worked out really well, but in Clarksville this was different for us, and we had to navigate a challenge that was specific to here?
Man, that's a great question. I'm trying to think back. There were a lot of challenges in starting a school. I think it was just determining whether the climate was right, and whether Clarksville was ready to support a Christian school. Mm-hmm. We weren't sure. Obviously, the academy had been around for forever, and so we think, okay, or is that can we coexist? All right. I mean, nobody's really doing this on a large level, sure. Right? There were a couple of little small kind of pilot Christian schools, but it was just like, hey, can we make this work? And thankfully, we made it work.
One thing I've noticed, and this is just my observation, but I've noticed that CCS tends to have a pretty large military component. Sure. A lot of the kids that I see come in wearing their CCS uniforms, I look and, mom or dad is active duty, at least by their insurance or whatever. And so I would expect that that's somewhat of a challenge. It's a challenge for me.
Definitely
you've got to, certainly that community is very tight. Word of mouth is really good within that community. But at the same time, as soon as you get a kid enrolled, you do a great job, they have a great year, PCS orders come about and you're in the middle of the year. Okay, well, what do we do with the tuition for this? And I would think that would be a dynamic that would be hard for the private school sector.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I don't remember what the percentages are, but when we first started learning from all these people, they said, you don't want you can't have your retention rate has to be X, and let's just say it's 90% or whatever. And we're like, okay, so if we can only lose 10%, we're like, well, we're losing 15% just in military. That's if you don't make anybody mad, right?
That's right. If everybody's happy,
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah. So that definitely was a challenge, and it's a little bit different for our community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So tell me a little bit about life of Chris and Stephanie now. You've kind of achieved this level of business success. Your role has changed over the years, but you still get to call Clarksville home. You still get to provide service here. You're still blessing your team, your customers, whatever. What are some things about Clarksville that now you just continually embrace more and more as you see what's on our horizon as a community?
I love the growth and the way the community's changed, and I know everybody doesn't love that, right? And so it just depends on what your perspective is, right? But I love to live in a place that is booming and vibrant and exciting. Yeah. Like if one of my favorite quotes is, "If you're not growing, you're dying," and so Clarksville is not dying; we're growing, right. and so. And as business owners, obviously, we do get to see the benefit of that, right? As the community grows, our businesses are able to grow, but not just that. We're able to provide a quality place of employment for more people, right? We're able to provide quality services for more people. And as you said earlier, hey, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? Let's all rise. Let's rise. And it doesn't matter what industry we're in. Let's raise the bar. My goodness, you interviewed our friend Nicoletta not recently, right? Man, what an awesome guy. And you talking about raising the bar?
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
let's
you
do
can't do catering events in Clarksville anymore with him in town and do it average.
No.
Unless somebody's just looking at budget. But he came in and within the last however many years he's been doing it, just changed it, right?
Stephanie and I went to an event in Nashville at TPAC. It was an event in the TPAC building recently, and we walked in, and who was there? The Nicolettas, and I was like, it's going to be a good night.
It's a good night.
And we were like, and of course here he comes around, and we're all hugging, and we're like, what are you doing? And so anyway, but yeah, I mean it's like when you're a part of a community like Clarksville, you just have that opportunity to work with like-minded business owners and leaders and say, let's do better. We don't always have to do things the way we've done them. Let's be better than we've been in the past. That's not a slight to our ancestors or the history of Clarksville. Let's just improve in everything we do.
Yeah. And that's been your own story. Not that 2024 Chris Travis is better than 1995 Chris Travis, but it's different. Your mindset's different. You've just gained more experiences. Absolutely. You've learned more along the way. Your courage has probably increased to take risks that you wouldn't have taken, however probably many years ago. And that allows you to continue to serve more and more people. Yeah. What's something that you always pencil in on the calendar of like, if this is happening in Clarksville, this is something that Stephanie and I always try to go to?
Oh, it's the same as yours. It's the farm to table dinner downtown Clarksville.
That's right. Here we are in June. I don't even know if it's on the calendar yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. I don't know if I haven't seen tickets come out yet. But
I don't either.
What a cool event! And like you said,
cool.
and of course, we love again Nicholas and the way that he takes care of people here. But what a cool event that is! And shout out to him and to Parks and Rec and for everybody that puts that kind of stuff on. But in my mind, those are the kind of events that I'm talking about. Like, let's not just do that once a year. Let's do it. Let's do one in the fall and maybe do it somewhere else. And let's just bring the community out and do cool stuff like that. And that's what makes it an awesome place. I think we're seeing a lot more of that. You got Downtown Commons now, right? And all the concerts.
Do you get a chance to recruit Clarksville in your recruitment of people? Because I would imagine, you're probably not just growing electricians who went to Montgomery Central, who went to Northwest, they graduate and you're plucking them. I would imagine you're pulling people from California, from Texas, from
New York,
all over the place. New York.
We've got some from New York, some of them in the Northeast states. I can't remember exactly where some of them are here currently. New Jersey, we've got a few from California. And absolutely, when somebody a key, especially if it's a key person that we're looking to bring in from out of state, or we're bringing them in and we're taking them to Black Horse, or we're taking them to Strawberry Alley, we're taking them downtown and go check this place out. It's really cool.
Yeah, what a cool idea. Well, Chris, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.
This has been super fun. I really appreciate the stories that you shared with us. Things like you're from Madisonville, Kentucky, same Chris Travis, but at the same time, you've started and grown this company to 70 plus employees with an unlimited budget in terms of, projects that you can bid now because of the skills that you've gained. But I really liked hearing about how at some point along that journey, it went from let's just get the job done to now let's operate with a system of core values that gives us a purpose, and about how that makes all of our businesses grow and become better. And I think one big nugget that I hope people take away from this is, the success that you attained in business was also a result of what you gave in the nonprofit sector and what you gave in service to Clarksville Christian School. And so I hope more people will take that and say, okay, I can't, Kevin Kennedy Jr. included, I can't get swallowed up in my business so much that I can't serve the community, because there are tools, nuggets, relationships, things that come out of service that are going to help what we're doing here.
Absolutely. And, I can't, I have often gotten inundated in the business and overwhelmed. And a few times throughout the years, I've thought, man, I got to give something else up. Maybe I don't need to serve so much at church, or maybe I need to step off the board at Clarksville Christian, or maybe I need to, and then it hit me one day. I was driving to work one morning contemplating that, like thinking, man, I probably just need to step down and so I can focus on the company. And it was like, hey, dummy, your company is where it is because of what you've done for me here.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that, and I'll say it to with my dying breath, that God blesses our business efforts in a direct relationship to how we serve Him in the community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
I know somebody's going to hit backwards on this, start from the beginning. They're going to listen to it all again, because this one's probably worth taking some notes over. Slowing down the speed. Do you have a speed that you listen to podcasts at?
It's podcasts normal, usually normal speed on podcasts. Okay. Audiobooks, I'm about 1.1, 1.15 sometimes, depending on the speed.
Okay. Well, my wife gets very annoyed when she hops in my car and listens to the speed of a podcast that I'll.
What's your speed? You're
it
probably
depends.
like a 2
I'm
times.
1.5 minimum,
Yeah,
but there's some that I'm at 2, and I can actually really still comprehend it. It's funny how your brain can shift and like pick up the speed.
You're a lot smarter than I am. I process a lot slower.
I just need a jolt of electricity or something to switch my brain back into normal. But thanks so much. Hey,
Absolutely.
If you have caught us to the end of this episode, thanks for being a part of our show. Thanks for listening in. Make sure you share this with somebody, especially if you know an Austin Peay student who maybe doesn't have a clear direction in terms of where they want to go in life. I promise this episode is going to be something really inspiring to them to hear Chris's story about how he came to Austin Peay just because some friends did, and where he is in our community now. If you see him out in the community, make sure you say hey. Make sure you tell him you've seen or listened to him on the podcast. That would give him a lot of encouragement. Make sure that you hit like or subscribe or whatever the algorithm tells you to do to catch our next episode when it comes out. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.